as we look towards the future, are you comfortable that we're not pushing ourselves too far in the future so that what we're doing this year, we had hoped to do last year, which means next year and the year after, we're gonna be behind? Basically, it's not really a question, but could you give us just a 2-minute overview as to how the future is looking for the next 4 or 5 years?
It's hard to, every road fails different. We gotta be careful what we do because of the pipeline coming in and tearing up our roads. Gary and I went to a class over a year ago now, and it's, basically, we have 34 miles in Oakland that we own, not counting state. DOT's is another 28, I believe, but anyways, ours. So, rule of thumb, so you can keep up with pavement for 10 years, this will actually works out for 10 years, is you need $340,000 a year. And once you get around your roads, it just jumps every 10 years. Well, years ago, pavement used to last on an average of 14, 15, 16 years. So they say pavement lasts 10 years, and they said that really, in all reality, pavement's only lasting about 8 years now. Because they've taken so much out of the pavement to make perfumes and plastics and all that, it's just a powder when they're all done. So they're trying to make pavement last longer, and make it better, so it's more pliable, you know. Pavement cracks so easy now, because there's not enough to hold it together. So, yeah, that's a tough question there.
Fairfield was in that same problem, and they ended up to catch themselves out. They borrowed $800,000, the town did, so that they could catch the roads back up, because they were losing ground every year. And, you know, this is a real concern, there's ways around it, and, well, there's not ways around it, there's Band-Aids, and it's called shimmin now.
Right.
And this is what Jeff is proposing to do with Rice and Drift Road, which is a very thin coat that levels out the deep spots and kind of levels it out, and we can resolve some of the issues up there by getting heavy truck traffic off of it. So it just saves the taxpayers money down the road. There's games that we can play, and we're trying to play them to make things match up, but the bottom line here, to answer to your question, we are falling behind, there's no question about it.
And I guess not necessarily tonight, but again, we probably should have a status report in the near future where you can just lay out to the council, this is our plan of action, and it might be shimming some roads, it might be whatever it is, so that we can just be aware, so we don't get caught, like, in some cases, all of a sudden we need, you know, $300,000 in a year above what we had to get us close to, like Fairfield did. So again, just so we can be up to date on where we stand.
You know, 'cause, you know, like Oak Street was so far out, that took everything that we had, all we did was that and Sawtell Road. And Sawtell Road, when you looked at it, it wasn't all that bad, but boy, you get up there, it was horrible. And so you gotta weigh out what do we do with this? So we just shim the road, and I planned on paving that, you know, because normally you shim and pave. Because you gotta get rid of your wheel ruts and everything, because if you just pave the road, the wheel ruts will come right back within a couple of years, so that's why you shim it, and then you pave it after.
Well, I was just gonna use Hudson Hill for example. You've been on it for 2 years and really you haven't done anything other than fix stuff like up above. That was terrible up there.
It's right, you know, we had that heavy rain, I mean, we spent a week just out there, just, and there's no shoulder there.
Patching up.
Exactly, you waste, so much time is wasted on just fixing little things that we're trying. But it takes, everybody knows it takes money.
I'm glad I live down the lower end of it. The upper end of it, it is bad.
Yeah.
Definitely. My other question was, in 2013, you had $243,000. And last year it was all the way down, I mean, it was down 100,000. Well, it dropped the next year, it's down to 145,000, so I mean, you drop, well, it stayed the same.
The reason was, our road projects, years ago, we used to have $125,000 a year. When we finished Summer Street, we took 2 years of that 125 plus paving money that we normally had, which wasn't enough back then, but it bumped us up to around 250. So we used that for 2 years, and that's how we got caught up on McGraw Pond Road. There was a few roads we got caught up on that we shimmed, and rule of thumb, 2 or 3 years, and then you should be paving it. And we went 3 or 4 on that, but we did end up catching it, so we didn't have to shim it again.
But I'm just looking at the budget, like you say, if you're saying we should have 350,000, you're only halfway there.
Exactly.
We made up some ground this year.
And we tried to do a little bit this year, we probably have $20,000, we're trying to keep a flat budget, you know, and that's why we're all here, and I tell Gary all the time, if you've got money, we'll put it right in the pavement.
Any changes on KMB, that's state, the state pays for that, is that correct?
Yeah.
There's gonna be some big changes up there, to answer your question.
Yeah. But that'll be all, that money will be coming from the state, not from the town.
Questions? There are none, we'll move on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Capital improvement? 31? You got it?
Wanna handle that, Doug? Sure, I can do that.
You're on, Doug, how are you?
I'm good, Mike.
Thank you.
Public Works vehicles, this 85,000, that we recommend with 90,000 that we have already appropriated. Jeff's gonna be planning to buy a dump truck for 170,000.
Did you say 85, Doug? I think
We have a 90 currently, after we bought the excavator.
We got 80 on here.
Right. We have 90 already.
Put away.
Plus, we have the, with this 80 will give us.
You said
You said
85.
Did I?
Yeah.
I apologize.
Okay.
Just wanna make sure that,
They're all watching you pretty close, Doug, they're watching back.
I guess so.
That was a test, just tell them it's a test.
So, this 55,000 is for our, the first money towards our next fire truck. 15,000 for the second half of the police cruiser, and this money in the past has been in the police budget, but has been moved over to capital improvements effective this year.
The same thing for the fire truck?
No, fire truck's always been here. Yep. Property maintenance truck, this 10,000 paired with, we hope to be able to sell the vehicle that we got for drug forfeitures for, am I good? For about 4,000. And this would give us 14,000 to be able to buy a used small pickup truck for property maintenance as their second vehicle. Town office copiers. This is to replace both our main copier and the assessing copier. And our main copiers will be 8 years old, will have 1 million copies on it. And it's also used as a network printer. We do all our big print jobs on that. We scan on it. It's very, very important piece of equipment to our operation. I got a price to replace what a comparable model to what we have, 13,000, would be 13,000. We of course will go out to bid, so hopefully we would do better than that, but that's a starting number. And $4,000 to replace the copier in the assessing office.
And the problem with the copier in the assessing office is it's so antiquated that we can't buy parts for it any longer, and the parts are coming off of used machines. And at some point, the availability of those parts are gonna dry up. And there's issues with that copier also, so it's time both of them to get replaced.
No.
So we own these machines and we maintain them.
Well, we have service contracts, annual service contracts, have maintained.
Can you give us a sense of how much we save by owning and contracting versus leasing?
That I cannot.
Have we ever looked into the leasing?
We have not, no.
Because I know this, I assume the school district still does, all the machines get leased, and you pay so much a copy, and they take care of them and maintain them. And I don't know, you know, today, I'm not sure whether it's a good way of going or not. I know it always had been in the past. The only problem you run into is when people use more copies than you anticipate, you pay a lot of overages. But I guess, and again, at some point, we probably should at least do a comparison to see if it makes any sense at all. It may not, I don't know.
We do have some extraordinarily large jobs, all the billing for sewer and everything else gets put out on it. And that's why it's got almost 1 million copies on it.
And that's what I'm saying, it may be a very efficient, effective way to own it rather than leasing it. I just don't, I don't know anymore whether, because I know the schools do. And I guess if it's not effective for the schools, then they shouldn't be doing it either. But it does become a big expense in 1 year as opposed to spreading it out over many. So I guess I'd just throw it out at some
I
point, just,
just did a quick calculation, and over the life of this machine, including for the cost of the machine and the maintenance, it's about 2 cents per copy.
Just did that calculation right here, didn't you?
yeah,
That's pretty good. That's a cheap, that's a very reasonable price per piece.
Yeah, so I think it's been a good deal for us.
Angela?
Is there any reason why we asked less this year for the fire truck appropriation for saving?
Well, we're gonna have to replace the rescue truck. That's bound to be, that has to be replaced, that's the next scheduled one. And I
Yeah,
believe
but
that's
in the past, we've been asking for 86,000, why only 55,000 this year?
Because we're trying to fit in the property maintenance vehicle into this budget also, without
gotcha.
overtaxing everybody.
Plus, the rescue's not gonna cost anything near as much as the fire truck.
So is that mean that we, with this 55,000, we're gonna have 125,416 towards the new truck? Because they only expended 215,000 of the projected
Oh,
286.
no, because that's actually, we've only spent that, that's kind of like the down payment, we're gonna spend 286.
Oh, okay,
That's
I
the
gotcha.
the full cost of that vehicle, yeah.
okay.
I think we saved some amount by paying that amount. I
That's
can't
correct.
remember the figure, Doug, but you explained it to us once.
That's correct, we did get a savings by paying, it might be 75%.
When we
upfront.
audited or something
Yeah.
like that, I remember you explained it. We saved a little money. Questions? There are none.
I have one small statement that I'd like to make in regards to capital improvements. Doug and I have met over this a couple of times, and one thing that I wanted to let everybody know is next year, our anticipated capital improvement amount is gonna be $299,000. This year's $177,000. One of the things that I would like to see happen is we've started off this year at a deficit of $30,000 and probably gonna be lower than that. It would not be a bad idea to take that extra money, not raise our taxes, not lower our taxes, but to go and place that into the capital improvements in preparation of a large jump next year. Just to start building up for what's coming down the road.
What's that jump coming from?
Doug, can you answer that?
Well, we have that capital improvement schedule in the back of your books. And if you take a look there, you can see what's going on.
Which back in the box?
The very end, it's the very last section with the blue legal table.
Half of it's on one page and the bottom half is on the second page. And it shows where fiscal year 2000.
Yeah, the budget we're looking at is fiscal year 17, and obviously next year is fiscal year 18.
That's a complete breakdown of the vehicles and where we're at.
So how much did you say, Gary, that we could put into that ahead of time? Was it 30 grand? Is that the figure?
Well, right now, we're sitting at lowering our taxes by about $29,950 or whatever it is. I'm sure there's gonna be some negotiation on third-party costs, and possibly that amount will increase. And what I'm proposing that we do is to take that amount and apply it towards our capital improvements, so that we're not hit with a $299,000. There's a lot of things that's gonna change over the next year. For instance, we have a fire truck, a rescue truck. Chief Coughlin has applied for a grant to replace that truck. And if that should come to fruition for us, then there's gonna be about $170,000 that's taken out of this for next year. But that's not a guarantee. I mean, you know, the grants are a grant. You've got a lot of people applying for it. I think it looks pretty good for them, but we can't count on that. So I'm just making the proposal that we try to anticipate for next year's $299,000. I think it would be a prudent move on our part. We'll
I think
have
it's
the money
good to
do
try to
it.
keep this even as we can. Another thing that contributed to that is last year we didn't buy a police cruiser. So we went 2 years to get one police cruiser, where we're gonna need another one. That's for 15 grand that we're gonna add from there.
And we got caught on that situation too, because we've got a car now, one of the police cruisers, the MR car has a transmission that's going bad, and we're using it just as very little as possible until the 1st of July to replace it, because we need to drive it to the shop to get trade-in value.
We'll load it on a trailer about a mile away, we'll push it down. It's in.
A really quiet car.
It runs great, guys.
What about them last night? It's in the parking lot. You guys just,
You didn't see us driving in?
you got a night shift drove it in.
Questions?
Would you put that money, like, we divide up the payments on these and earmark it for whatever you need, so you could add that for anticipation of a truck or a police car or whatever, that's what you're talking about doing, but it would be earmarked for something that you know you're gonna need.
What we would actually do to that is we'd add that to this year's capital improvements, so that next year's would be lower. And it would-
But it would show up in for one of these particular items. Yeah, it's not just a slush fund kind of thing that you're gonna use somewhere.
No slush fund.
Yeah.
Doug, on the public works plow truck, you only had 80,000 in there, and the second payment is 120, is that what I'm reading here? Don't you usually try to do that about half?
Correct. We did, well, the reason why that was done, because there's also, next year, we're looking at replacing Jeff's pickup. And so,
Oh, okay, I see,
so,
yeah.
you know, that's
So
why
they are
we're
about
24, so that between the 2 years, it's roughly.
That makes it about equal.
Would Jeff's pickup be anything AJ could use?
Jeff's pickup's pretty much used up. Yeah, I mean, that's a 1-ton truck, and it's got a sander on it all winter long, and it's got a lot of deterioration underneath, it plows snow, and it's in pretty bad shape. That's probably one of the hardest work vehicles we have in the fleet.
If anybody comes downtown early in the morning on a stormy day, they'll see that truck's getting a lot of use. It plows the most of Main Street and Church Street area, and plus the
Yeah.
fire station, the town office, and
Jeff and I certainly had some very deep conversations in regards to that, because that was certainly a thought of mine also. And, you know, and possibly pushing that truck off another year, you know, if it's possible. But it really doesn't sound like it's a possibility for it. I mean, it's the same type of truck that you or I could go out and buy, and it's being used for commercial use.
Then it goes a lot further backwards than the truck you use.
Yeah.
all the way up Main Street.
That's got 50,000 miles going forward and 60 going backwards.
Yeah. She's used up, that's for sure.
No further questions? Doug, thank you for your time. Thank you for your time. Next meeting is Monday night. All of you, I will not be here Monday night, I'll be driving back, so. This is a regular third party. Any questions from there, they go to our meeting. There's no committee, there's no committee, third party. We talked to them on Dana's question is third-party requests, why are we not voting on them tonight or talking about them? Because of the fact that we always do that when we go back through and talk through, we relook at all the budget points. But if anybody wants to talk about them, we can.
I suggest we spend a couple hours doing it.
No,
I was gonna make, if we got to that point, I was gonna make a motion to basically try to bring it to a quick closure. And as I thought about it, I said one of the things that might be productive is to do a individual secret, not that secret's good, but quick ballot without discussion. And just see if we had a consensus, do we support them? Do we not support them? Do we support them at a certain level? And basically, if there was enough feedback from the very quick vote, we wouldn't spend any more time discussing it. We could, you know, it's up to the committees, how we want to do it. But I guess I was hoping to throw something out that we could look at and maybe within 10 minutes have a consensus. Now, we don't have to do that tonight. We can do it later on. But I was thinking it would be something different that would bring closure without rehashing. I think everybody who's here has heard everything at least twice. I don't think we need to hear, and we all have our personal opinions, which I value all of them. And if more personal opinions feel one way than another, we go that route. But again, I was just trying to think of a way to do it that would bring a quick closure to it. And I was prepared to do it tonight if we want to, or we can wait till the last session to do it. I have no predisposed notion as if the last meeting's the best. And I was gonna make the same comment. If we save $20,000 by doing this, or 10,000, or 5, whatever we save, we put it into a particular fund. Gary's mentioned the capital improvements fund, so that if we feel we can save $2,000 here, it's a good $2,000 that we can use next year on something else. We don't take it out of the budget and reduce the budget anymore. We try to keep the budget right where the tax rate is now. We don't go up, we don't go down, we try to keep it flat, but we use whatever monies we have for the future problems that we might have.
I would only say hold off on it for 2 reasons. We've got 2 people missing and Mike wants to leave.
Three.
I'm sorry, 3,
That's fine.
and Mike wants to leave.
Yeah, that's
You pointed at Wayne and said 3, he's here.
He
Well,
fell
the guy
asleep.
fellow on the other side of Wayne, he's in Aruba.
So the intent is the very last, what's the last meeting we have scheduled, Gary? No, it's.
The very last meeting that we have final voting is on March 9th.
So this would be March 9th.
What
No,
is
when we
this?
go through the budget committee, we vote on how we feel on it, and then we hand over the budget.
Right, exactly.
So,
But I guess I just thought it'd be good to let people do it, and we could say, gee, it seems, there's no sense discussing it anymore, because 90% of the people feel this way. Why, you know, even spend a lot of time talking? That's the only thing I was trying to do.
My person is just a follow discussion night, that's the same time for that.
What is the status right now of that, of the third party?
They're in the budget as
As
requested.
they are? Everything is still the same as it is, no matter what?
Same as it was.
because we haven't voted on it, we don't vote on it until after we hear everyone's, from every department. And then tonight, what was gonna happen, we were gonna have each one come in for 5 minutes tonight, and then on March, whatever the date was, we would, you know, how do you vote on the police department? Council says good, budget committee. Budget says good, what do you feel on capital improvements?
So,
Council says, you know,
At that budget meeting, then at that
That's when
meeting,
we could
then
do
we can have the 2 hours.
Right.
No. Hopefully you're gonna have 10 minutes and say we're done. Not that we don't wanna
It's
hear
gonna
too
happen,
much.
it's gonna happen anyhow. Now, I think I agree with you, Don, if I understand what you're saying. That, and I guess last time I said, just eliminate them, except the ones that are gonna be remote, which is what we heard, which, that's done, that hasn't happened, right? Everything that was in there is still in there, right? Okay. I mean, I think we should support it. I think the town, as a citizen of the state, should be doing it. But I don't particularly like the hours and hours and hours that we spend for $35,000 this year, which is minuscule individually when you come down to it, as far as what you're asking people to give. I just don't think we should be involved with doing that if that's what's gonna happen, you know? So I think I agree with Don that a secret ballot to see if anybody wants to include this stuff, then then we would know. If they want to, then we still have to do the
And
3 or
part of
4 hour
the-
discussion over $35,000.
The council would also, if the council was 5-0 on something, and the budget advisory was split, then we would still recommend it, and you guys would vote, and it would probably still be split. So I just think it would be a way of eliminating, looking at individual ones and discussing each one, and somebody's favorite, and somebody's least favorite. And, you know, we've heard all that, and I agree with both sides, I understand both sides, but I don't think we need to rehash it.
I mean, as long as the parties that are requesting funds don't fit in, and the vetting is done, that we're not supporting an 85% administrative cost of some of these organizations, that they're really doing stuff for the community, and I don't see why we shouldn't support them. But if people don't, then I don't think we should spend a lot of time discussing this when I don't even know what the amount for each individual taxpayer is when it comes down to it, because it's so small a part of the budget. I mean, it's less than 1/10 of 1%, I think, isn't it? Yeah, it's not even 1%. So I guess I would like not to spend the time, but we either eliminate it or do it, and not spend the time discussing something that really doesn't mean a lot to the people that are getting the money as well as us, the town.
Ned said,
Well, it's interesting, because I noticed, if we go down here, the KV Cap has got 2 requests before us, you know, and it's interesting. Yeah, and they get, you know, to other points, they get a huge amount of money, and they're asking for a lot of money just from our town. And it's interesting, because the point is, what Jeff was talking about, he's uncovered one area where we're clearly falling behind, and it could get worse. Depends on the winter, depends on the traffic, depends on all kinds of things. And they're most likely, I also wanted to ask him if there were other deficiencies that he isn't talking about that might be part of the fixed assets down there. And there may well be other things that crop up. And some of the other towns who, you know, they don't allow them, rehashing it again, no third-party requests.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know.
I think the principle of it is whether we should involve ourselves, the town, whether the town should be involved with it or not. There are some questions in my mind as whether these are legitimate, you know, if we're getting the full value from the money we're spending. I get the sense that most of them do, because people know what they supply.
Well,
I know they get money other places, and it's a matter of whether or not people that, you know, that there's really high administrative costs or running costs that we don't really get much for our money out of. But it involves a lot of discussion here, and I think you're right. If you don't want to do it, then the money can go to the town wherever it's most needed. But I still believe that it doesn't hurt to include a little bit of the budget for the town for these organizations. I think they do supply service to us, and I'm not opposed to it. It's just that I'm opposed to the time that, I mean, the years we've been sitting here listening to the time.
Just real quickly too, is like, you know, the BRCA or whatever they said, if they don't get funds, they get less money from like DEP. They're based on if they get donations, they get in-kind matches, so
Well,
a lot of these people are the same way. They have to go out and try to get money from outside too.
My understanding is that that wasn't one of the organizations we're talking about.
No,
They're
no, but I'm just
conservation
saying, in that thing,
town-related
that's a lot of those,
organizations.
that's why a lot of those people are asking for money,
Yeah.
because if they don't get money, they
I
don't try.
understand,
They don't get any.
and I think we should support them, but if it's gonna be that much discussion, I don't think we should.
Ned,
I look at, you know, the other big part of our taxes here in town is the RSU. The RSU has a 10-year plan that I'm aware of, Cherokee, and they're looking at maintenance. And we're not looking at that in this town. We're not, except for tonight, this first little piece of it that's come up just for road maintenance, let alone building maintenance. And I think we should be paying, you know, I like the first concept might have been you, Mike, who said, maybe we should just give out $500 each and let it go with that. You know, it would show some participation on the part of the town, which I'm sure has been demonstrated to us, that these organizations